Kai transmigrated into a novel, becoming the tragic cannon fodder, supporting male character after he realized his girlfriend was destined to fall in love with the male lead and eliminate him. He struck first when she was drugged and supposed to have a night of passion with the male lead. He beat him to it. Afterwards, he put on a heart-wrenching act. Let's break up. I don't want a woman who's been tainted. She was like a heartbroken kitten, desperately scrubbing her skin raw for years. Later, when he heard she was going to marry the male lead, he thought the plot had finally run its course, so he reappeared and began to get to know the marriage candidate arranged by his family. But that very night, she imprisoned him. She stripped off her clothes piece by piece, her desire a morbid, obsessive, and humble plea. Kai, look at me. I've been washing myself for years. I'm not dirty anymore. He stood frozen, his eyes reddening as he looked at the suggestive marks on Alara's body. His best friend's angry shouts and Alara's attempts to explain filled his ears. He took a few steps back, avoiding her hand. Disappointment mixed with anger etched on his face. Alara, is this what you call a business trip? Kai, it's not like that. You know I only love you. Don't say any more, he roared, heartbroken. How can you even try to explain these marks on your body? Kai, I beg you, believe me. This must all be a misunderstanding. Alara looked down at the suggestive marks on her body, her eyes red and on the verge of tears. She wanted to explain, but no words came out, only a pleading gaze fixed on him. But he was resolute. Let's break up. I'll set you both free. Alara swayed as if she couldn't stand, her eyes shattered. Break up? Yes, break up, he said, clenching his fist, uttering even more decisive and hurtful words. The pain was so intense he turned and fled in disarray. His best friend immediately chased after him, his comforting words filling his ears. Kai, out with the old, in with the new. It's not worth being sad over a cheating woman. This Alara, she's really something else. I used to envy you too. Childhood sweethearts, you've doted on her since you were kids. I thought she was loyal and deeply in love, different from other women, but it was all fake. The pain in his chest was so severe, he could barely stand. It's not her fault. You don't understand. I'm just sad we couldn't make it to the end. His best friend patted his back, his face full of concern. Kai, no matter how much you like her, you can't. If she cheats once, she'll do it again. His friend thought Kai was sad about Alara cheating and betraying him, but he was sad because he had to completely let her go. Alara hadn't cheated, nor had she slept with anyone else. She hadn't done anything wrong. 3 months ago, he had accidentally bumped into a guy. That night, he had a dream and learned that the world he was in was a book. The female lead was Alara, but the male lead wasn't him. Kai was just cannon fodder, and the male lead was the guy he bumped into during the day, Jackson. Alara would realize after meeting him that their childhood bond wasn't love. She would gradually fall for Jackson, and Kai's possessiveness towards Alara as the cannon fodder would lead him to repeatedly harm the male lead, exhausting Alara's last bit of affection for him. His parents time and again would target and suppress the male lead for his sake, leading their entire family to ruin. Kai didn't believe it at first, but no matter where Alara and he went, Jackson's shadow would be there. When they went shopping, Jackson would be handing out flyers on the street. When they ate at a Western restaurant, he'd be the waiter. Even when Kai deliberately changed his college major and had Alara apply to a university in a neighboring state, Jackson still miraculously appeared, even ending up in the same major and class as Alara. It was as if everything was destined. In the days that followed, Kai saw Jackson accidentally bump into Alara countless times while walking, or scrape her car with his bike, or be bullied and conveniently have Alara witness it. Even if Alara did nothing, the bullies left because of Kai, yet Jackson still saw Alara as his savior, gifting her a hand-carved wooden sculpture. Alara's polite refusal wasn't enough to give Kai any sense of security. Instead, his panic grew because in the book, she was like that with Jackson at the beginning, too. Jackson was like a ticking time bomb, constantly reminding Kai that his treasure would be snatched away, and no matter how he tried to avoid their interactions, they would always meet in other ways. In the book, Alara's affection for Jackson stemmed from a car accident. Although the accident wasn't serious, Kai still wanted to prevent it from happening. So, that day, he tried to stop Alara from going out. Alara, not understanding, thought Kai just wanted to laze in bed and snuggled into his arms, kissing him. Kai, If we don't get up, we'll be late. He wrapped his arms around her waist, pressed her down onto the bed, and pulled her into his embrace. Sweetheart, you're not going anywhere today. Just stay home with me. So bossy. But what if I really want to go to class? Unless you can name something more appealing to do at home. Her finger playfully traced from the tip of his nose to his lips, her gaze suggestive. Kai saw through her intentions, immediately grabbed her finger, and bit it gently. Sweetheart, don't tease me. She let out a light laugh, her hands slipping under his shirt. What if I do tease you with that? She leaned in to kiss his Adam's apple, but Kai blocked her with his hand. She pouted in disappointment, kissed the back of his hand, and cooed. Kai, give it to me. Her hand, mischievous on his chest, sent shivers down his spine. He couldn't hold back any longer and pinned her hands above her head, kissing her. They fooled around for a long time, and he only stopped when she was crying and begging for mercy. But she did listen to him and stayed home all day. Kai thought everything had changed, but the next day, when he was driving Alara to class, a car went out of control and crashed into them, and he realized nothing had changed. In fact, things had gotten worse. To protect him, Alara threw herself in front of him at the critical moment, putting herself in the most dangerous position. He was only dazed and had no injuries, but Alara was covered in blood. As they were being carried out, Kai saw Jackson giving Alara emergency first aid. In his dream, Alara wasn't nearly as injured, just a mild concussion, but his intervention had made things like this. At that moment, he knew everything he did was futile. The male and female leads were destined to meet and fall in love. Because Jackson's first aid was so good, Alara, who had been on the brink of death, was successfully saved. Alara's parents were grateful to him, and after learning about his pitiful background, they even considered adopting him as their godson. Jackson, flustered, said, Uncle, Auntie, you're too kind. Alara saved me before, too. It's only right that I help her. Alara's mother was a little surprised. So Alara saved you before? You two really are fated. Fated. Those words filled Kai with despair and pain. Looking at Jackson, a malicious thought rose in his heart. He was the one who grew up with Alara. Why could he, as the male lead, so easily snatch everything away? Kai finally understood why the hymn in the book turned bad. No one could watch the treasure they'd cherished in their palm be snatched away without feeling pain. He was no exception. But he didn't want to end up like he did in the book, nor did he want to truly make things difficult for Jackson as written, causing Alara to gradually despise and even hate him. More importantly, he didn't want Alara to be on the brink of death again because of him. So he decided to let go. All he wanted was her safety. During her recovery, he stayed by her side, cherishing their last moments together. But he couldn't bring himself to talk about breaking up until she recovered and had to go to Miami for a business trip. She wanted him to go with her, but he refused. He thought she had to get used to days without him. But the night she left, he had another dream. In the dream, she was drugged and then spent a passionate night with Jackson. Seeing this, he couldn't control himself anymore and rushed to Miami overnight. When he found her, she was being carried into a room by a drunk Jackson. Without thinking, Kai knocked Jackson out. Just as he was about to carry her to the hospital, the image of her covered in blood flashed before his eyes. A chill ran down his spine, but he couldn't let her have relations with Jackson. In the end, he decided to indulge himself one last time. He pressed the disoriented, flushed Alara onto the bed. To prevent her from possibly waking up, he even blindfolded her with his tie. After doing all this, his heart was pounding so hard it felt like it would jump out of his throat. In the past, Alara had always pestered him to cross the final line, but he had always held back, feeling she was still too young. Now, however, he didn't want his beloved girl to be defiled by someone else. He gently undid her clothes, tracing her beautiful collarbone down to her full, beautifully shaped curves. Alara's chest heaved violently. Her body, already affected by the drug, burned even hotter with his touch. She sobbed, Kai, I feel so awful. His heart ached hearing her. But the thought that if Jackson had come today, she would have been just as lost in passion, made him unbearably sad. He bit her collarbone punitively. Sweetheart, who am I? Kai. She kept rubbing against him. He couldn't hold back any longer, leaving bite marks all over her neck and collarbone. Seeing her impatiently struggling against the restraints on her hands, he had to speed up. When they became one, He couldn't help but shed tears. "Sweetheart, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I love you. I'll always love you." He steeled his heart and took her. The rhythm of their movements entirely his, and she crying called his name over and over, acting purely on instinct. When it was all over, he kissed the tears from the corners of her eyes. Then he kicked the unconscious Jackson a few more times and put him back on the bed. Seeing him still looking uncomfortable, he pushed him onto the floor. After doing all that, he prepared to leave, but at the hotel entrance, he ran into his best friend, who had witnessed their tryst in his dream. "Kai, thank goodness you're here too. I happened to see your Alara being taken away by a guy at a dinner party today. I couldn't leave right away, but the more I thought about it, the more something felt off. That's how I found out where they were staying and rushed over. Are you here to find them too?" Naturally, with his best friend as a witness, Kai became the victim. This was good, too. He could break up with her now. Alara wouldn't cling to him anymore. She would completely forget him after leaving Miami. He rushed back home and locked himself in his room. The sadness was real. Giving up someone he'd loved for so long wasn't easy. The guilt was real, too. He had stolen her first time with Jackson. His parents took turns trying to persuade him, but he ignored them all. They only thought Alara had wronged him, but only Kai knew Alara hadn't done anything wrong. Alara called him over and over, but he didn't answer. Later, she actually came to his house, begging to see him. He had anticipated that such an abrupt breakup wouldn't be easily accepted by her. If it were to be like in the book, slowly making her resent him and finally having her stab him for the male lead, or disregarding the plot and letting her face danger again and again, he couldn't accept either. For several days, she stood outside his house. His parents knew he didn't want to see her, so they didn't let her in. Until one rainy day, she stood in the rain for hours, but still wouldn't leave. His heart ached. He crushed a glass in his hand, without feeling the pain in his heart. His parents, having watched her grow up, finally softened and let her in. Her pleas filled the space outside his room. "Kai, I was wrong. Please talk to me, okay? It was my fault. I shouldn't have drunk. I shouldn't have associated with Jackson. I've already deleted all his contact information. Please look at me, okay? Kai, I beg you." Her voice choked with sobs. "Or do you not want to see me because you think I'm dirty?" His heart clenched painfully. He opened the door, tears streaming down his face. She was soaked like a drowned kitten. She reached out to hug him, but her hand recoiled just before touching him. He looked at her exposed skin. Her neck was an unnatural red. It looked like it had been scrubbed vigorously, and the areas with bite marks were even rubbed raw. "Kai, can you give me another chance?" "Alara, don't be so stubborn. You can like someone else. Without me, there won't be anyone else," she cried, denying it. "What about Jackson, then? Do you dare say his appearance hasn't affected you?" Alara didn't deny it immediately, and Kai knew he was right. He wiped the tears from her face and looked at her steadily. "Alara, you're not wrong. I'm not good enough. Let's part amicably." "Kai, it's not like that." She shook her head, her eyes red, still trying to explain. "Alara, I'm begging you. Let's give each other some dignity." With that, he closed the door, unable to bear seeing her sad face any longer. He slid down against the door, hearing her cry loudly outside. "Kai, how can you be so cruel?" He didn't want to hear her crying anymore. He messaged Alara's parents, asking them to send someone to pick her up. Then he immediately applied to study abroad. He didn't know when Alara left. When he woke up, he was on a 4-drip. The doctor said he had lost too much blood, thankfully discovered quickly. His mom, seeing him awake, wiped her tears, her heart aching. "Son, why did you do something so foolish? Don't you want us anymore?" "Mom, I didn't mean that. My heart just hurt too much. I wanted to distract myself from the pain. I hadn't expected to cut myself with the glass." After comforting his mom, he brought up studying abroad. His mom was stunned, wanting to say something but swallowing her words. His dad patted her back and asked her to check on some food for him in the kitchen. After everyone left the room, his dad sat on a chair, looking at him with a somewhat serious expression. "What exactly happened to you?" His hand, fidgeting with the blanket, tightened. He wanted to brush it off, but then his dad handed him a file folder. Inside was a complete record of his movements in Miami. A jolt went through him, and he broke out in a cold sweat. If his dad could find this, Alara naturally could, too. It was just that her mind was currently consumed with winning him back, so she had no energy to investigate. He mumbled, "Dad, Before he could even make his request, his dad already understood. I've already cleaned things up for you. Alara won't find out. Kai let out a sigh of relief. But you have to tell me the truth. You're my son. No matter how big the trouble, Dad will support you. A warmth spread through his heart, and tears welled up in his eyes. In the book, his mom and dad were like that, targeting and suppressing Jackson in every way, only to end up with a miserable fate. He fell silent for a moment, then finally told him about the book, but he didn't mention that he died because of Alara. After listening, his dad frowned deeply. Kai didn't know if he believed him or not, but he did start to expedite his application to study abroad. Time flies, and in the blink of an eye, for years had passed. Alara and Jackson were getting married. Although he had been avoiding news about them, their social circles overlapped. It was inevitable that he'd hear about their movements. The huge weight in his heart finally lifted. Everything seemed to have settled without him. The cannon fodder, stirring up trouble. They still ended up together, though it took a bit longer. As he came out of the airport, a woman in a vibrant dress approached him. Kai, welcome back to the country. She smiled and waved at him, then presented him with a bouquet of flowers. It took him a few seconds to realize this was Serafina, the marriage candidate his parents had introduced him to. Although it was an arranged marriage, they still wanted to see if she suited his taste, so they had sent him her contact information early on, and he had chatted with her for a while. She was cheerful, humble, and strikingly beautiful, not a bad person. He smiled and accepted the flowers. Thank you. I like them very much. Glad you like them, she said, smiling and standing beside him. Kai followed her around the corner, about to take the elevator to the parking lot. Turning around, he met Alara's gaze. He froze instantly. Even his blood seemed to solidify. The Alara now was so familiar, yet so strange. The girl who was once as cute as cotton candy now wore a crisp white suit, looking capable and cold. The way she looked at him held no love or gentleness, only an icy chill. She walked towards him in her high heels, each step feeling like it was treading on his already dormant heart. Her imposing aura made him unconsciously take half a step back. Alara, I'm here. Did I keep you waiting long? A low male voice sounded. Kai didn't need to guess. It was Jackson. Alara's footsteps faltered. Jackson, with his slicked-back hair, had already reached her side, intimately draping his arm around her shoulder. I told you we have a driver. Why did you have to postpone an important meeting to pick me up personally? It's not like I don't know the way. He grumbled, but his eyes looking at Kai were filled with smugness. Kai's hand holding the roses tightened, his palm feeling as if pricked by thorns. Once upon a time, Alara was like this, too. No matter where he went, no matter when he came home, she would come to pick him up and then rush into his arms like a little cannonball. But now, this was no longer his exclusive privilege. After 4 years, he still couldn't completely let her go. Kai forced himself to look away. He squeezed out a fake smile for Serafina. Let's go. Mom and Dad are waiting. Serafina nodded politely at them and prepared to leave with him. Jackson called out to him, feigning surprise. Kai, I didn't expect you to be back. Long time no see. I almost didn't recognize you. This must be your girlfriend, right? You two look great together. Then he took out 2 wedding invitations and handed them to Kai. Alara and I are getting married. As an old classmate, you absolutely must come. Kai struggled to maintain his composure, pretending not to care as he accepted the invitations. Okay, I'll definitely be there. Then he smiled and said goodbye to them. From beginning to end, Alara didn't say a word, like an invisible person. It wasn't until Serafina and Kai entered the elevator and the doors were closing that Alara's gaze locked onto him. His heart skipped a beat, and he quickly stepped aside, out of her line of sight. Kai, what's wrong? Serafina asked. He shook his head, but an uneasy feeling lingered in his heart. News of his return quickly spread through their circle. It was inevitable that he'd have to catch up with old friends at a gathering organized by his best friend. After everyone had exchanged recent updates, they started gossiping. Kai, be honest. Did you come back to crash the wedding? As long as you say yes, we'll definitely help you get Alara back. He waved his hands repeatedly. Please don't do anything reckless. Alara and I are in the past. A friend back then said, I'd sooner believe the world would end tomorrow than believe you two would break up. What exactly happened between you two back then? How did Alara fall for Jackson? Was there some misunderstanding between you? Or did that pretty boy Jackson steal her from you? Questions came one after another, and they even recounted how good Kai had been to Alara. They hadn't been separated since kindergarten. He had spoiled her rotten since they were little. Other kids were encouraged by teachers to eat on their own, but that didn't work with Kai at all, because he would take care of everything for Alara, feeding her, giving her milk, lulling her to sleep. If she encountered any trouble, she just had to call out Kai, and he would solve it for her. So, from a young age, Alara's parents would tease her, saying she knew how to find herself a child groom so early on. What's the use of him being good to Alara in the past? His best friend scoffed. Wasn't she still coaxed away by another man with just a few words? Stop it, Kai interrupted him, not wanting to stay any longer. He excused himself to the restroom. When he came out of the restroom, he bumped into Alara. His heart suddenly raced. He didn't expect her to be here, too. Flustered, he stepped back and tried to leave. Kai, she softened her voice. It's been 4 years. Don't you want to see me? This familiar address made his footsteps falter, a warmth spreading in his heart. He kept his back to her and said, Miss Miller is about to get married. You should be loyal to your fiancé. Calling others like this is really inappropriate. He started to walk away, but someone from behind wrapped their arms around his waist, and at the same time, a handkerchief was pressed over his nose and mouth. When he woke up, he was tied to a bed. The room had only one door, and the walls were completely sealed. The entire room was blindingly white. The room door opened, and Alara walked in. Only then did he remember what happened before he passed out. The current oppressive atmosphere in Alara's obviously abnormal state made his heart pound. Alara, what are you doing? Kai, I just missed you so much. Her gaze was obsessed and aggrieved as she slowly approached him. Alara, stop being crazy. Let me go back quickly. My parents will be worried if they know I'm missing. Why don't you think about me? Why is your mind full of others? She suddenly became sinister, her face cold. The next moment, she yanked his tie, tightening it. Why did you smile at other women? Why did you accept roses from someone else? How could you want someone else to be your girlfriend? Kai, you can only love me. Saying this, she kissed him forcefully, as if venting her anger. She kept biting his lips and tongue until his lips were broken. He turned his head away and roared, Get off! Her eyes met his, and she suddenly burst into a mixture of laughter and tears. Kai, you actually yelled at me? You don't love me, do you? He couldn't say words against his heart and avoided the topic. Alara, do you plan to keep me locked up for the rest of my life? Kai, I won't. Trust me. He didn't know what she was trying to do. Fortunately, after knowing she used his phone to deceive his parents about his whereabouts so they wouldn't worry, he wasn't so anxious anymore. Alara was still as good to him as before, except for locking him up. His food and clothing were all according to his preferences. She even let him move freely around the villa after he said he didn't want to be chained to the bed. However, as her wedding day with Jackson approached and she still showed no intention of letting him go, it made him feel like her kept man, and she was still actively preparing for her wedding with Jackson every day. So, her closeness only made him more miserable. When she tried to sleep next to him in his bed again at night, he yelled, Alara, can you please not come near me? You're disgusting, you know that. Alara was stunned for a moment, then started taking off her clothes. Kai was horrified and scrambled off the bed. Alara, you're about to get married. What do you think you're doing? She acted as if she couldn't hear, her hands continuing to undress piece by piece. He didn't dare look and averted his eyes, wanting to leave the room, but the door had a password lock. He couldn't open it at all. Just when he thought she was going to entangle him in something, she just stood there, her plea morbid, obsessive, and humble. Kai, look at me. I've been washing myself for years. I'm not dirty anymore. A pang of pain shot through his heart. He wrapped the blanket around her. Alara, I never thought you were dirty. You're not dirty. She took the opportunity to hug him. Then do you want me? He removed her arms. Alara, you're getting married. This isn't right. But his words inexplicably angered her. The person who had just been crying and begging immediately transformed into a sinister and cold figure. My hands were cuffed by her at some point. You still mind, don't you? If you mind, you should lock me up and punish me so I can only see you forever. But you just want to abandon me. Do you not love me at all? Kai was shocked by her morbid state. He had no doubt she had mental problems. Her forceful attempt to undress him further confirmed this. Kai, please wash me clean, okay? She said. throwing off the blanket and tearing at his pants. I remember every place I was touched by someone else. Will you help me wash them clean? Alara, let go. Get a grip. He tried hard to hold on to his pants, but she was stubbornly convinced that if he wasn't angry and didn't punish her, it meant he didn't love her. Kai was both angry and anxious. Enough. I was the one who did all that back then. You're not dirty. He had already prepared for her to angrily question him why he did it. However, she just shook her head, not believing him at all. Instead, she disgustedly clawed at her own skin, obsessively wanting him to punish her. Before he could think deeply about why she didn't believe him, he forcefully pulled her into his arms to prevent her from harming herself further. If you want me to punish you so badly, then how can you try to kill yourself? She was stunned for a moment, then nodded. Kai is right. You should be the one to do it. The person who had just been aggressive suddenly became as docile as a kitten, snuggling in his arms. With red eyes, she pleaded, Kai, lock me up. Shut me away. Then I'll belong only to you. For a moment, he was speechless. Seeing him silent, she continued to cry. Kai, why haven't you helped me wash clean yet? He stroked her head and coaxed her softly. Okay, I'll wash you clean right now. But don't you need to unlock the chains on my hands first? She found the key, unlocked them for him, and then obediently lay on the bed, waiting for him to act. He chuckled and shook his head, then picked her up. She asked doubtfully, doesn't Kai like doing it in bed? Alara, what kind of things have you been looking at? She silently closed her mouth and said no more. He carried her into the bathroom, filled the tub with water, but she reached out and pulled him, wanting him to get into the tub with her. He glanced at her curvaceous body and turned his head away. Be good, or I'll get angry. Oh, okay. Only then did she sit obediently, waiting for him to act. Kai tried his best to control his gaze, repeatedly chanting a calming mantra in his mind, but Alara, oblivious, grabbed his hand and guided it to her sensitive areas. He recoiled as if electrocuted. Don't move around. Wash this part yourself. Then she actually started crying. You still despise me. I don't God knows how much I wanted to ravish her, to make her cry until she couldn't cry anymore. In the end, Kai compromised. The whole process nearly made him bite his lip raw. After washing Alara and putting her back in bed, he returned to the bathroom. He bit his lip hard to keep any sound from escaping. After returning to bed, he held her as they slept. Perhaps because he had too many things on his mind, that night Kai didn't sleep soundly, so when Alara left the room in the middle of the night, he was clearly aware and quietly followed her. Alara's house actually had a basement. Unfortunately, the door was a password-protected one, and it locked automatically as soon as Alara went in. Kai had no choice but to quietly return to the room and pretend to be asleep. Nearly 2 hours later, Alara returned. In the darkness, she took his hand and kissed it. Kai, it's almost over. He didn't understand what was almost over, but he thought it must be related to the basement. The next day, after Alara left, he found the entrance to the basement. It was a 6-digit password door. He tried Alara's birthday, his birthday, even various anniversaries, but none were correct until he entered the date of their breakup. The door opened. It was also a basement, but different from the place Alara had previously locked him in. This basement was dark, gloomy, and cold, like a man-eating beast. As he went deeper, he saw a reclining chair with restraints. There were also electroshock devices, medications, and so on. Kai was horrified, somewhat guessing it was for treating mental illnesses. So Alara really had a mental illness. But after rummaging through her things, he couldn't find any specifics about what illness was being treated. He had to put everything back first and planned to find an opportunity to ask Alara. But as soon as he came up from the basement, he saw Jackson. Kai was startled. He hadn't expected Jackson to find his way here to Alara's place. Jackson looked down at Kai. Kai, you really are a persistent ghost. As a supporting character, you should have some self-awareness, otherwise the consequences will be dire. Supporting character? So Jackson knew he was the main character. I don't understand what you're talking about. Kai feigned ignorance. Jackson smiled. If you don't understand, why did you go abroad back then? Everything was practically laid bare, he added. You know Alara has mental problems, right? Kai's heart sank. He looked up straight at him. What exactly are you trying to say? I just want to advise you to never appear in front of her again. Otherwise, if she goes crazy, it will all be because of you. But somehow I feel like she'll go crazy if I leave her. Jackson snorted coldly. I hope you're still smiling when Alara and I get married. Oh, don't let me keep you. After showing him out, Kai started to think about how to get information out of Alara. When Alara came back, Kai tried to probe indirectly, but he couldn't get anything out of her. Finally, he had to resort to his trump card, getting her drunk. Her alcohol tolerance was already poor, and after what happened back then, she hadn't touched a drop. So when Kai fed her wine mouth to mouth, she had no resistance at all. Her eyes shone frighteningly, full of excitement and disbelief. Kai more. He handed her the wine glass. Drink it yourself. She boldly sat on his lap, rubbing her head against his shoulder. I want Kai to feed me. Later, a lot of wine was fed and her lips were kissed quite a few times. Looking at Alara, whose eyes were already hazy, he asked directly, Alara, do you have a mental illness? No, how could I be ill? Then what are those things in the basement for? At the mention of this, she suddenly hugged him and started crying. I'm sorry, Kai. I'm tainted. My mind is always filled with someone else. My brain is out of my control. I clearly don't like him, but my mind is full of memories with him, doing all sorts of intimate things with him. He's like a curse, always appearing in my life, in my mind, always saying I love him, but I clearly only love Kai. But I can control it now. Every cell in my body says I hate him. If any man other than Kai touches me, I'll throw up. From her answer, Kai seemed to understand. Alara's mind contained the memories of her and Jackson from the book, and these memories had a stronger influence on her. Her heart told her she didn't love Jackson, but her brain was deeply imprinted with the idea that she loved Jackson. It was as if someone had stuffed the emotions from the book into her head. That's why when Kai said he was the one who had relations with her, she didn't believe him. Kai, I really did try to clear him out of my head. Please don't leave me, okay? He cupped her face and kissed her lips. Sweetheart, I'll work hard with you from now on. Kai used to think that Alara had developed feelings for Jackson. Now it seemed that it was simply the influence of the plot. Kai couldn't help but feel very sad. He had actually let her face all this alone before. On the wedding day, Alara woke Kai up early in the morning. Kai, I'm going to marry someone else. He hugged her and kissed her. You go ahead. You don't care about me at all. Her resentment almost drowned him. Alara's phone kept ringing, all calls urging her to hurry up. Kai was annoyed by the noise and sat up. Hurry up and go to the wedding venue. Be good. Follow the procedure. Don't do anything. Alara stared at him, her eyes full of grievance. Kai kissed her on the lips. You're my treasure. I definitely won't abandon you. Don't worry. Go ahead. I have a surprise for you. Her eyes lit up, and she wrapped her arms around his neck, kissing him again. At noon, at the wedding venue, guests had gathered. Under everyone's gaze, Jackson appeared in a black suit. Alara stood in place, looking around, until Kai appeared. Her stern and cold features melted into spring water. Under everyone's gaze, Kai walked onto the stage, smiled, and extended his hand to Alara. Sweetheart, I'm here to crash the wedding. Will you come with me? Alara lifted her skirt and ran towards him with pleasure. The guests were all shocked. Jackson's face turned ugly as he said to Alara, Alara, look at me. You love me. You're going to marry me. Alara's face was full of disgust. No, I don't love you. I've only ever loved Kai. Kai's hand and Alara's were clasped together. Jackson watched Kai cough up a mouthful of blood, speaking to some point in the void. It was utterly horrifying. After this, the wedding ended abruptly. Alara's parents' attitude changed drastically. They themselves found it absurd. They didn't know how they could have let Alara marry Jackson back then. For all these years, they had treated Jackson like their own son, not only providing academic support, but also letting him into the Miller family business. That was one thing, but they never thought they would agree to their marriage, and they hadn't asked for Alara's opinion. According to Alara's mother, it was like being hypnotized. This indeed reminded Kai that Alara really needed to see a psychologist. Over the years, she had been caught between reality and the plot of the book. Apart from knowing that loving Kai was correct, other things were a chaotic mix of truth and falsehood. To this day, she still didn't believe Kai was the one who had relations with her back then. Fortunately, it was his dad who had handled the aftermath. Kai laid out all the information in front of Alara. Talking about past events was really stupid, but he had to make Alara understand that she was never dirty. After Alara looked at the documents, her expression was blank. Kai apologized guiltily. I'm sorry, I was too foolish back then. Kai, it's okay. She leaned obediently against his chest. The next second, a handkerchief was pressed over his nose and mouth. Kai, you made me sad for so long. I'm going to punish you. Before Kai passed out, only two words flashed through his mind. I'm done. When he woke up again, he was completely naked and tied to the bed, his body burning with an unbearable heat. Sweetheart, what did you do to me? Alara held a belt in her hand and whipped his chest with it. I just gave Kai something good to eat. It can make Kai more comfortable during the upcoming punishment. Kai knew he was in the wrong and didn't dare show any dissatisfaction until his chest was whipped crimson. She then moved the belt downwards. Kai's so naughty. Kai was horrified. Sweetheart, I was really wrong. Please don't. The whipping had already landed. Kai's crying so pitifully. Alara laughed wantonly. Kai broke free from the handcuffs. The next moment, he pinned her beneath him. Sweetheart, now it's your turn to cry. With the wedding called off, Kai thought he would have no more dealings with Jackson, who knew he would actually kidnap Kai. Kai, why can a supporting character like you end up with the female lead? I'm the chosen male lead. Why can't she love me? From his intermittent, crazy ramblings, Kai learned that he had tried to win Alara over twice. The first time, he had taken Kai's current identity and was Alara's childhood sweetheart, but Alara didn't love him. Instead, she fell in love with Kai, whose life was pitiful. In this life, he deliberately chose Kai's previous life's identity and tried to win Alara over by imitating Kai. Unfortunately, Alara still didn't love him, so he used something called a system to hypnotize Alara. This method was undoubtedly cheating, and the price was death upon failure. At the wedding scene, Jackson didn't hesitate to use hypnosis again, but unfortunately, Alara had already tortured herself into immunity over the past 4 years. Alara's confession of love to Kai was the best counter technique. Jackson had entangled himself for 2 lifetimes, only to end up with nothing, and his life had reached its final moments. When Alara rushed over, Jackson was holding a knife to Kai's neck. Seeing Alara, he lost some control. Alara, you love me, right? Say you love me, and I'll let him go. Say it. Alara looked at Kai and nodded slightly. I love you, Kai. Jackson completely collapsed. Kai seized the opportunity to elbow him hard, quickly creating distance between them. In an instant, Jackson was subdued. Alara hugged Kai, her body trembling, her gaze towards Jackson filled with a desire to flay him alive. Kai hugged Alara back tightly, comforting her. Sweetheart, it's okay. It's all over. She rubbed her head against his chest for a while before looking up. Kai, I love you. Only you. Kai placed a light kiss on her forehead. I know. I love you too. Only you. 3 months later, Alara proposed to Kai. She had been preparing for the wedding for a long time back then. Kai thought she was preparing it for Jackson. Later, Alara told Kai that even if he hadn't crashed the wedding, she wouldn't have married Jackson. According to her plan, she would have proposed to Kai that day. She was also prepared for him to refuse. Fortunately, Kai was brave for once. Speaking of marrying Alara, Kai's best friend almost cursed him to death. He was afraid Kai was head over heels in love and would sacrifice his happiness for a cheating woman. He vigorously introduced Kai to high-quality girlfriends and even encouraged Serafina to continue pursuing him. Alara's face turned black with anger. That very day, she dragged Kai to get their marriage license. Then she flaunted their marriage certificate on social media, declaring her sovereignty. Kai's mine. Me, Kai's. Kai's best friend's eyes turned red with anger, so Kai told him the whole story from the beginning. It actually made him want to hit Kai. Alara's reputation was cleared. She also gained the title of being love-struck. Thanks to her being love-struck, otherwise with Kai's personality, they wouldn't have had a happy ending.